Dr. Kate Morrison floated through the main corridor of Harmony Point, still getting used to the low gravity. The medical research station was huge, bigger than any hospital she had ever worked in back on Earth. Shiny metal walls curved above. Her head and soft blue lights guided the way to different sections. She had been here for 3 weeks now, but everything still felt strange, and new Kate stopped at a large window and looked out at the stars. She could see ships from different alien worlds docked at the station. Some looked like crystals that grew in space. Others were smooth and round like giant pearls. A few had shapes that hurt her eyes to look at for too long. Each ship belonged to a different species that was part of the medical exchange program. She was the first human to join this program. The aliens had finally agreed to let one person from Earth come and learn their healing methods. Kate had worked hard for 15 years as a trauma surgeon to get this chance. She had saved hundreds of lives in busy emergency rooms, fixed broken bones, and stopped bleeding that would have killed people in minutes. But here, surrounded by alien doctors with technology she could barely understand, she felt small and useless. The corridor opened into the main medical bay. Kate watched as Dr. Zenth, a Kythera doctor, worked on a patient. The Kythera looked like a giant praying mantis, but with 6 arms instead of 4. Each arm ended in delicate fingers that moved tiny machines smaller than rice grains. These machines crawled into a patient's wound and fixed damage from the inside. Kate had seen this procedure many times, but it still amazed her. Dr. Zenth noticed Kate watching. His large compound eyes turned toward her, reflecting the room's lights like mirrors. When he spoke, his voice came through a translator device that made him sound like he was talking through water. Dr. Morrison, you observe again. Do you finally understand how real medicine works? Kate tried to smile. It's incredible. The precision of those micro-machines is beyond anything we have on Earth. Yes, of course it is. Your species still cuts into patients with metal blades and hopes for the best. Very primitive. Other alien doctors in the bay made clicking sounds. That Kate had learned was their way of laughing. She felt her face get hot with embarrassment, but she kept her voice calm. Our methods might look simple, but they work. Sometimes simple solutions are the most reliable. Dr. Allen, a Zephyrian healer, drifted closer. The Zephyrians looked like tall, thin people made of mist and starlight. They had no solid body that Kate could see, just a shape that seemed to be made of moving energy. When Dr. Allen spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Reliable, perhaps, but so very crude. We heal with sound frequencies that match the natural vibrations of healthy tissue. No cutting, no blood, no pain. Your methods cause trauma to fix trauma. It makes no sense. Kate wanted to argue, but she had tried before. These aliens had been practicing medicine for thousands of years, longer than humans. Their technology could do things that seemed like magic. They could regrow lost limbs in hours, cure diseases that killed millions on Earth, and fix injuries that human doctors would call impossible to heal, but something about their attitude bothered her. They acted like their way was the only right way. They never asked about human medicine or wanted to learn anything from her. The whole exchange program felt like they were just being polite to the primitive humans who had recently joined the galactic community. Dr. Morrison, came a voice from across the room. Dr. Viss, a Veil 3 physician, gestured for her to come over. The Veil 3 were Kate's favorite aliens to work with. They looked like people made of living crystal, with light flowing through their bodies like glowing blood. Dr. Viss was tall and elegant, with faceted skin that threw rainbow patterns on the walls when she moved. Kate walked over to where Dr. Viss was treating a patient with a broken arm. The Veil 3 doctor held her crystal hands above the injury. and Kate could see energy flowing from her fingers into the patient's bone. The break was healing in real time, the bone knitting back together like it was made of clay. "Watch carefully," Dr. Viss said. Her voice was clear and musical, like crystal bells ringing. "I am directing bioenergy into the damaged tissue. The energy follows pathways that exist in all living things. With practice and the right genetics, any Val-3 can do this." Kate studied the process. What if you don't have those genetics? What if your bioenergy gets disrupted somehow? Dr. Viss paused in her healing. Her crystalline face turned toward Kate, and light swirled in her eyes like trapped lightning. "Why would you ask such a thing? Val-3 bioenergy has never failed. Our healing methods have worked perfectly for 50,000 years. I'm just curious about backup plans. On Earth, we always have multiple ways to treat the same problem. If one method fails, we try another." "Failure is not a concept we consider," Dr. Viss said, turning back to her patient. "Advanced medicine does not fail." Kate nodded, but said nothing more. She had learned that questioning alien methods too much made them uncomfortable. They seemed to think that having a backup plan meant you didn't trust your primary method. But Kate's experience in Earth hospitals had taught her that even the best methods could fail at the worst possible time. The medical bay's doors opened with a soft hiss. Kate turned to see Captain Jake Sullivan walking in, looking around with the careful eyes of someone who was used to checking for danger. Jake was the commanding officer of the transport ship that brought supplies to Harmony Point every month. He was tall and solid, with gray hair and the kind of calm presence that made people feel safe in emergencies. "Dr. Morrison," Jake said, nodding to her. "How's the learning going?" "It's fascinating," Kate replied. "Their technology is incredible, but But? Kate glanced around at the alien doctors, who were watching the conversation with interest. "But I think there might be some things we could teach them too." Jake smiled. "I'm sure there are. Humans have always been good at making things work when everything else falls apart." Dr. Zenth made a dismissive clicking sound. "Captain Sullivan. With respect, human medicine is centuries behind what we practice here. Dr. Morrison is here to learn, not to teach." "Maybe," Jake said easily. "But I've seen Doc Morrison work in field conditions that would make your equipment malfunction. Sometimes the old ways work when the fancy ways don't." The alien doctors exchanged glances that Kate was beginning to recognize. It was the look they gave each other when humans said something they thought was stupid, but were too polite to correct directly. Dr. Allen's misty form shimmered with what might have been amusement. "Field conditions? We have equipment that works. In any environment, our healing methods adapt to any situation." "That's good to hear," Jake said. "Hope you never have to find out if that's really true." As Kate watched the aliens' reactions to Jake's words, she felt a strange chill run down her spine. The aliens were so confident in their technology, so sure that their methods would always work. But Kate had been a doctor long enough to know that the universe had a way of testing that kind of confidence at the worst possible moments. She looked out the window again at the swirling colors of the nearby nebula. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she wondered what would happen if these perfect alien methods ever did fail. Would they know what to do with just their hands and their knowledge, the way human doctors had learned to work for thousands of years before fancy machines existed? Kate hoped they would never have to find out, but something told her that hope might not be enough. The alarm started as a low hum that made Kate's teeth ache. Then it got louder and higher until it felt like needles in her ears. Red lights flashed along the walls of Harmony Point, and a voice spoke in the alien common language that Kate was still learning to understand. "Emergency. All medical staff to emergency bay. Multiple casualties incoming." Kate ran through the corridors alongside the alien doctors. Her heart pounded, but it was a good feeling. This was what she had trained for her whole life. Emergency. Medicine was where she felt most at home, where her skills meant the difference between life and death. The emergency bay was chaos. Alien crew members were setting up treatment areas and checking equipment. Dr. Zenth's 6 arms moved in a blur as he programmed his micro-machines for different types of injuries. Dr. Allen's misty form grew brighter as she prepared her sonic healing frequencies. Dr. Viss stood perfectly still, building up bioenergy in her crystal body until she glowed like a small star. Captain Jake appeared at Kate's side. His face was grim, and he carried an emergency medical kit from his ship. Got word on the situation. Transport ship got caught. Too close to an unstable wormhole. Hull breach, multiple species aboard, and they're all hurt bad. How many? Kate asked, already checking the supplies in the emergency bay. 43 beings. Mixed species. Some injuries we've never seen before, because the wormhole did something strange to their ship's structure. The first wave of injured began arriving on floating stretchers. Kate had seen alien anatomy in textbooks, but seeing real injuries on living beings was different. A Kethra engineer had 2 of his 6 arms torn off, with sparking biomechanical parts hanging from the wounds. A Zephyrian navigator was flickering in and out of existence, her energy form unable to hold together. Several species that Kate didn't recognize were unconscious and bleeding fluids she couldn't identify. But it was the last stretcher that made Kate's blood run cold. Ambassador Thyses, the most important Val-3 diplomat in this sector of space, lay dying before their eyes. Her crystal body was cracked from head to toe, with huge fractures running through her torso. Where her chest should have been solid crystal, there was now a gaping hole. Inside the hole, Kate could see Tice's bioenergy core, the organ that kept all Val-3 alive. It was flickering like a candle in the wind, growing dimmer every second. Core breach, Dr. Viss whispered, her own crystal body paling with shock. Complete structural failure. Her life energy is bleeding away. Kate moved closer to examine the wound. She had never seen Val-3 anatomy in person before, but her medical training kicked in automatically. The bioenergy core looked like a small star trapped inside crystal ribs. Cracks spread out from it like a broken window, and with each heartbeat, more light leaked out into the air and disappeared. How long does she have? Kate asked. Minutes, Dr. Viss said. Maybe less. When the core loses enough energy, it will stop functioning entirely. No Val-3 has ever survived a complete core failure. The alien doctors sprang into action. Dr. Viss positioned herself over Ambassador Thyses and began trying to channel bioenergy into the damaged core. Dr. Zenth sent clouds of micro-machines to try to seal the crystal fractures. Dr. Allen focused her sonic healing on the ambassador's vital frequencies. For a moment, it looked like it might work. The bioenergy core grew slightly brighter, and some of the smaller cracks began to close. But then sparks started flying from the alien medical equipment. The lights in the emergency bay flickered and went out, leaving them in dim emergency lighting. What's happening? Kate called out. Captain Jake was checking his handheld scanner. Electromagnetic interference from the wormhole. It's affecting all the advanced electronics on the station. The field is getting stronger. One by one, the alien medical devices began to fail. Dr. Zenth's micro-machines stopped responding to his commands and fell to the floor like dead insects. Dr. Allen's sonic generators produced only static and painful screeches. Dr. Viss tried to maintain her bioenergy flow, but her own crystal structure was being disrupted by the electromagnetic field. This cannot be happening, Dr. Viss said, her voice cracking with desperation. Our equipment is designed to work in any environment. It has never failed before. Kate watched Ambassador Tice's bioenergy core growing dimmer. The ambassador's breathing was shallow and getting weaker. Her crystal skin was turning from bright rainbow colors to dull gray. All around the emergency bay, other patients were suffering too, but none were as close to death as the ambassador. "Dr. Zenth," Kate called out, "how long before your equipment comes back online?" The Kithera doctor's compound eyes reflected the emergency lights as he worked frantically on his machines. "I do not know. The interference is unlike anything in our databases. Hours, perhaps. Maybe days." "She doesn't have hours," Kate said, looking back at Ambassador Thises. The bioenergy core was now barely glowing. Like the last ember of a dying fire. Dr. Allen's misty form swirled with agitation. "We must transport her to a medical facility with better shielding. Perhaps the Zephyrian fleet has ships that can resist this interference." "The nearest Zephyrian medical ship is 6 hours away," Captain Jake reported. "And with the wormhole interference, it might take longer." Kate knelt beside Ambassador Tice's stretcher and really looked at the wound for the first time. The crystal. Fractures followed patterns that reminded her of broken bones. The bioenergy core sat in a cavity that was shaped like a human heart chamber. The way the light leaked out looked almost like bleeding, just with energy instead of blood. "Dr. Viss," Kate said slowly, "what happens if we try to stop the energy loss manually? Like applying pressure to a bleeding wound?" Dr. Viss turned to stare at Kate with wide crystal eyes. "That is impossible. Bioenergy cannot be contained by physical touch. It requires energy manipulation fields and precise frequency control. But what if it could? What would happen? The energy loss would slow or stop, giving the core time to stabilize itself. But no being can touch bioenergy directly. It would be like trying to hold lightning in your bare hands." Kate studied the wound again. Something about it reminded her of cases she had seen in the emergency room back on Earth. Heart injuries where the pericardium was torn, letting blood leak into the chest cavity. Those patients died in minutes unless someone could stop the bleeding long enough to get them to surgery. "Dr. Morrison," Dr. Zenth said urgently, "what are you thinking? Your expression suggests you have an idea." Kate looked around at the alien doctors. They were all staring at her with expressions she couldn't read. These beings had medical knowledge that went back thousands of years. They had technology that seemed like magic. But right now, all of that knowledge and technology was useless. "On Earth," Kate said carefully, "when our equipment fails, we use our hands. We use direct pressure, body heat, and manual manipulation to keep patients alive until the machines work again." "Impossible," Dr. Allen said immediately. "Veil 3 bioenergy would burn through human tissue in seconds. You would be killed instantly." "Maybe," Kate said, "but she's definitely going to die if we do nothing." Ambassador Tice's breathing stopped for a moment, then started again with a weak gasp. Her bioenergy core was now so dim that Kate could barely see it glowing in the crystal cavity of her chest. Captain Jake stepped up beside Kate. "Doc, if you think you can help her, I'll assist however I can." The alien doctors looked shocked. Dr. Viss spoke first, her crystal voice ringing with disbelief. "Captain Sullivan, you cannot be serious. Dr. Morrison is suggesting a procedure that has never been attempted. The risk of killing Ambassador Thises through energy feedback is enormous." "She's already dying," Jake said simply. "Sometimes you have to risk everything to save anything." Kate felt all eyes in the emergency bay focusing on her. Other alien medical staff had stopped what they were doing to watch. The electromagnetic interference was getting worse, and more equipment was failing every minute. Soon they would have nothing but emergency lighting and basic life support. Ambassador Thises made a soft sound, like crystal chimes breaking. Her bioenergy core flickered one more time, and then grew so dim that Kate could hardly see it at all. She has perhaps won. Minute left, Dr. Viss whispered. Kate took a deep breath and rolled up her sleeves. Then we better get started. Kate reached toward Ambassador Tice's chest, but Dr. Viss grabbed her wrist with a crystal hand that felt like ice. Stop. You do not understand what you are doing. Veil 3 bioenergy is not like human blood or tissue. It is pure life force. If you touch it directly, it will burn through your nervous system and kill you in seconds. Kate looked into Dr. Viss's crystal eyes, seeing genuine fear there. What if you're wrong? What if human physiology can handle it? We are not wrong. Dr. Zenth clicked urgently. His 6 arms gestured wildly as he spoke. Every species that has ever tried to touch raw bioenergy has suffered severe injury or death. The energy is too pure, too concentrated for organic tissue to contain. Ambassador Thises made a weak sound, like glass breaking far away. Her bioenergy core was now almost invisible, just the faintest glow in the crystal cavity of her chest. Kate could see that they were out of time. Dr. Allen, Kate said, in all your medical experience, has any species ever survived core failure? The Zephyrian's misty form grew dimmer with sadness. Never. Once the bioenergy is lost, it cannot be recovered. Ambassador Thises will be dead. Within 30 seconds. Kate pulled her wrist free from Dr. Viss's grip. Then what do we have to lose by trying? Your life, Dr. Viss said simply. And possibly Ambassador Tice's last moments of peaceful death. Energy feedback could cause her tremendous pain before the end. Captain Jake stepped closer to the stretcher. Doc, I've seen you work miracles in impossible situations. But these folks know their own biology better than we do. Maybe we should listen. Kate appreciated Jake's support, but she could see doubt in his eyes too. Everyone in the emergency bay was looking at her like she was about to commit suicide. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was being stupid and reckless. But then she remembered something from her first year of medical school. Her professor, Dr. Carter, had told the class about the early days of heart surgery. Doctors had said it was impossible to operate on a beating heart. They said human hands could never be steady enough, that the risk was too great. But surgeons tried anyway, and they learned that sometimes impossible things became possible when someone was desperate enough to try. Dr. Viss, Kate said, has anyone ever tried to use body heat to stabilize bioenergy? Body heat? Dr. Viss looked confused. What relevance could thermal regulation have? Human body temperature is about 37 degrees. What temperature does bioenergy function best at? Dr. Viss paused, her crystal form flickering as she calculated. Bioenergy is most stable at temperatures between 35 and 40 degrees. But that is merely coincidence. Maybe not, Kate said. And what about pressure? Does bioenergy respond to physical compression? Well, yes. Bioenergy fields can be concentrated through external pressure, but then maybe human hands can do more than you think. Ambassador Tice's breathing became so shallow that Kate could barely see her chest moving. The bioenergy core gave one final flicker and then went almost completely dark. She is dying now, Dr. Viss whispered. This is her final moment. Kate made her decision. She reached out and placed her hands on either side of Ambassador Tice's chest wound, her palms hovering just above the failing bioenergy core. The reaction was immediate. The alien doctors gasped and stepped back as if Kate had just grabbed a live electrical wire. Dr. Zenth's clicking became rapid and panicked. Dr. Allen's misty form swirled with alarm, but Kate didn't feel burning or pain. Instead, she felt warmth spreading through her hands, like holding them near a campfire. The bioenergy core, which had been almost invisible, began to glow brighter under her palms. Impossible, Dr. Viss breathed. The energy should be destroying your nervous system. Kate slowly lowered her hands until her palms were almost touching the bioenergy core. The warmth increased, but it was pleasant, not painful. She could feel something like a pulse under her hands, weak but growing stronger. "It's working," she said, amazed. "I can feel her life force responding." Captain Jake moved to the other side of the stretcher. "What do you need me to do?" "The fractures in her crystal body are still leaking energy. See if you can apply pressure around the edges of the wound. Gentle pressure, like you're trying to hold broken glass together." Jake positioned his hands carefully around the crystal fractures. As soon as his skin made contact with Ambassador Tice's body, more light began to flow back into the bioenergy core. The alien doctors watched in stunned silence. Dr. Viss moved closer, her crystal eyes wide with disbelief. "The core is stabilizing. The energy loss has slowed to almost nothing." Kate felt the pulse under her hands growing stronger and more regular. Her body temperature was dropping because she was dying. "Our body heat is warming her core back to the right temperature." "And the pressure," Jake added, "it's like holding a broken water pipe. The energy can't leak out as fast." Dr. Zenth's compound eyes reflected the growing light from Ambassador Tice's core. This should not be possible. Human skin is organic, fragile. Bioenergy should pass through it like paper. "Maybe that's exactly why it works," Kate said. "Your energy fields and machines might be too rigid, too controlling. Human tissue is flexible. It can contain the energy without trying to control it." Ambassador Thises took a deeper breath, and her crystal skin began to show faint colors again. The bioenergy core was now glowing steadily, though still dimmer than normal. Dr. Allen drifted closer, her misty form brightening with excitement. "The ambassador's vital frequencies are improving. Heart rate stabilizing, brain activity increasing. How long do we need to maintain this?" Kate asked, sweat starting to form on her forehead from the effort of staying perfectly still. Dr. Viss checked the handheld scanner that was still working despite the electromagnetic interference. Bioenergy cores can self-repair if given enough time and stability. Perhaps 20 minutes for basic function to return. 20 minutes of holding perfectly still, maintaining exact pressure and temperature. Kate had done longer surgeries, but never one where a single twitch could kill the patient. "Doc," Jake said quietly, "my hands are starting to cramp. Can you take over my position?" Kate looked at the fractures Jake was covering. They were larger than the ones around the core, and there were more of them. "I need both hands here." "We need someone else." Dr. Viss stepped forward hesitantly. "I could attempt to assist, but my crystal structure might interfere with the bioenergy flow." "What about pressure without direct contact?" Kate suggested. "Use medical tape or gauze to create compression." Dr. Zenth immediately began gathering supplies. His 6 arms worked efficiently, preparing strips of biocompatible material. "This approach has merit. We can create external pressure without risking energy interference." As they worked to create a network of supportive pressure points around Ambassador Tice's fractures, Kate felt something she had never experienced before. She could sense the ambassador's life force through her hands, feel it growing stronger as her core temperature stabilized. It was like having a direct connection to another being's will to live. "Dr. Morrison," Dr. Viss said softly, "what you are doing challenges everything we thought we knew about bioenergy interaction. If this succeeds, it will change how we practice medicine throughout the galaxy." Kate kept her eyes focused on Ambassador Tice's face, watching for signs of improvement. Sometimes the best medicine isn't about having the right technology. Sometimes it's about having the right touch. Ambassador Tice's eyes fluttered open for the first time since arriving in the emergency bay. They were crystal blue, like looking into clear mountain water. When she saw Kate's hands positioned over her bioenergy core, she tried to speak. "Rest," Kate said gently. "Don't try to talk. We're going to keep you stable until your core can repair itself." The ambassador's crystal. Lips formed what might have been a smile. Then her eyes closed again, but her breathing was steady and strong. Kate settled in for the long wait, knowing that the next 15 minutes would determine whether Ambassador Theises lived or died. Around the emergency bay, the alien doctors worked on other patients using whatever equipment still functioned. But Kate could feel their attention returning to her again and again, watching the impossible sight of human hands saving a life that their advanced technology could not. 10 minutes passed like hours. Kate's arms ached from holding the same position, but she didn't dare move. Under her palms, Ambassador Theis's bioenergy core pulsed with growing strength. The light was now bright enough to cast shadows on the walls of the emergency bay. "Core energy at 60% of normal levels," Dr. Viss reported, checking her scanner. "The rate of improvement is extraordinary." Kate felt sweat running down her back, but she ignored it. This was like the longest surgery of her career, except that one wrong move could kill her patient instantly. She focused on keeping her touch light but firm, maintaining just enough contact to provide warmth and stability. Captain Jake had been relieved by Dr. Zenth, whose multiple arms could maintain better pressure on the crystal fractures. The Kithra doctor worked with incredible precision, using medical tape and gauze to create a network of support around Ambassador Theis's damaged body. "Dr. Morrison," Dr. Zenth clicked softly, "I must ask, how did you know that human physiology would be compatible with bioenergy? This interaction has never been documented." Kate thought about it while monitoring the pulse of life under her hands. "I didn't know. But in emergency medicine, you learn to try things that shouldn't work when everything that should work has failed." Dr. Allen drifted closer, her misty form shimmering with curiosity. "But surely you must have had some theoretical basis, some indication that this approach might succeed." "Experience," Kate said simply. "I've treated thousands of trauma cases. When someone is bleeding to death, you put pressure on the wound. When they're going into shock, you warm them up." Ambassador Theises was losing life energy and getting cold. The principles are the same, even if the biology is different. Dr. Viss made a sound like crystal chimes ringing. Kate had learned this was how Veil 3 expressed amazement. You applied Deathworlder emergency medicine to Val 3 physiology without understanding the science behind it. Sometimes you don't need to understand why something works. You just need to know that it does work. The bioenergy core under Kate's hands suddenly flared brighter. Ambassador Theises took a deep breath, and her crystal skin began showing more vivid colors. The fractures in her body were starting to close on their own as her natural healing abilities kicked in. "Core energy at 75%, Dr. Viss announced. Self-repair functions are now active." Around the emergency bay, other alien medical staff had stopped what they were doing to watch. Kate could feel their stares, but she didn't look up. Ambassador Theises was improving, but she wasn't safe yet. "Dr. Morrison," came a new voice. Kate glanced up to see Dr. Kess, the chief medical officer of Harmony Point. The elderly Zephyrian's misty form was brighter than usual, indicating high emotional state. "What you are doing is beyond our understanding of medical science." "It's not beyond understanding," Kate replied. "It's just different from what you're used to. Every species has evolved different ways to heal. Maybe humans evolved to be good at emergency stabilization." Dr. Kess drifted around the stretcher, studying Kate's hand positions from different angles. "The precision required is incredible. You are maintaining exact pressure and temperature while compensating for micromovements in the patient's core. Frequency." Kate hadn't realized she was doing all of that. She had just been trying to keep her hands steady and warm. But now that Dr. Kess mentioned it, she could feel tiny adjustments she was making automatically, responding to changes in Ambassador Tice's condition without conscious thought. It's like reading a patient's pulse, she explained. After enough practice, your hands learn to feel things that instruments can't measure. Captain Jake returned with a chair and positioned it behind Kate. Doc, you need to rest your back. You've been standing in the same position for 20 minutes. Kate carefully sat down without moving her hands from Ambassador Tice's core. Hey. Change of position brought immediate relief to her aching muscles. How much longer until her core is fully stabilized? Dr. Viss consulted her scanner again. At the current rate of improvement, perhaps 10 more minutes for basic stability. Full. Recovery will take hours, but she will be out of immediate danger. Good, Kate said, because I don't think I can hold this position much longer. But even as she said it, Kate knew she would hold the position for as long as necessary. This was what she had trained for her whole life. Not the alien technology, or the exotic biology, but the fundamental act of one being helping another survive. Ambassador Tice's eyes opened again, and this time they stayed open. She looked up at Kate with an expression of wonder and gratitude. When she spoke, her voice was like distant music. Dr. Morrison, you are saving my life with your bare hands. Just doing my job, Kate replied with a smile. No, this is far beyond duty. You risked your own life for someone you barely know, using methods that could have killed you both. Kate felt the bioenergy core pulse strongly under her palms. Every doctor takes that risk. The only difference is the tools we use. Ambassador Theises tried to sit up, but Dr. Zenth gently pressed her back down with one of his 6 arms. Ambassador, you must remain still while the repair process continues. Of course, Theises said, but her crystal eyes remained fixed on Kate's face. Dr. Morrison, I have lived for over 300 years. I have seen the greatest medical minds of dozens of species. But I have never witnessed anything like what you are doing now. Dr. Allen's misty form swirled with emotion. None of use have. Dr. Morrison is demonstrating capabilities that our medical databases say are impossible. Kate shook her head. They're not impossible. They're just not in your databases because no one ever tried them before. But why? Dr. Viss asked. Why did humans develop such direct, hands-on healing methods when other species moved toward technology-based medicine? Kate thought about Earth's history, about the wars and disasters and emergencies that had shaped human medicine. Maybe because we had to. Earth is a dangerous place. We couldn't always rely on fancy equipment because it got broken or lost or destroyed. We learned to use whatever we had, including our own bodies. Deathworlder adaptability, Captain Jake. Added, when the environment keeps trying to kill you, you get creative about staying alive. The bioenergy core under Kate's hands suddenly stabilized into a steady, strong rhythm. Ambassador Tice's crystal skin showed brilliant rainbow colors, and the fractures in her body had closed enough that they were barely visible. Core energy at 90%, Dr. Viss announced with excitement. All vital signs are normal. The immediate crisis has passed. Kate carefully lifted her hands away from Ambassador Tice's core. Her palms were warm and tingling, but otherwise unharmed. The bioenergy continued to pulse steadily without her touch. Ambassador Theises sat up slowly, testing her movement. Crystal. Light flowed through her body like liquid starlight. She looked completely healthy, as if the terrible injuries had never happened. Incredible, Dr. Kess whispered. Complete core stabilization achieved through manual intervention. This will revolutionize emergency medicine throughout the galaxy. Kate flexed her fingers, working out the stiffness from holding them motionless for so long. It's not revolutionary. It's just medicine. The same principles work on any species if you know how to adapt them. Ambassador Theises stood up from the stretcher and faced Kate. Dr. Morrison, I owe you my life. But more than that, you have shown us something that we had forgotten in our pursuit of perfect technology. What's that? That the most sophisticated healing tool is still the connection between healer and patient. Your hands did more than provide warmth and pressure. They provided hope. Kate felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment. I just did what needed to be done. Dr. Zenth's 6 arms gestured expressively as he spoke. Dr. Morrison, what you accomplished today challenges our fundamental understanding of medical intervention. We must study this technique immediately. There's not much to study, Kate said. It's basic trauma medicine. Keep the patient warm, apply pressure to stop bleeding, and don't give up until they're stable. But even as she said it, Kate realized the alien doctors were right. Something had happened here that went beyond simple first aid. She had felt Ambassador Theis's life force responding to her touch in ways that seemed impossible according to everything she knew about biology. Dr. Viss approached with her scanner still in hand. Dr. Morrison, would you consent to a bioenergy reading? I want to understand how your physiology interacted with Ambassador Theis's core. Kate nodded and held out her arm. Dr. Viss passed the scanner over her hands and arms and her crystal. Eyes widened in surprise. Fascinating. Your bioelectrical field has been altered by the contact. There are traces of Val-3 bioenergy integrated into your nervous system. Is that dangerous? Captain Jake asked, moving closer. No, quite the opposite, Dr. Viss replied. The energy integration appears to be enhancing Dr. Morrison's natural healing abilities. This is unprecedented. Ambassador Theises stepped forward and gently took Kate's hands in her crystal ones. Dr. Morrison, you have given me more than life. You have given me a new understanding of what it means to heal. I would be honored to learn from you. Kate looked around the emergency bay at all the alien doctors watching her. Their expressions had changed completely from the condescending politeness she had grown used to. Now they looked at her with genuine respect and curiosity. 3 months later, Kate stood in the new Emergency Xenobiology Center aboard Harmony Point. The medical bay looked very different now. Traditional alien healing equipment sat alongside simple human tools like stethoscopes, thermometers, and surgical gloves. Signs on the walls were written in multiple languages, including human medical terminology that was being adopted by alien doctors across the galaxy. Dr. Morrison, we have incoming casualties from a mining accident, called Dr. Viss from the communications station. The Val-3 doctor had become Kate's closest collaborator, learning to combine bioenergy healing with human touch techniques. Kate nodded and began preparing for the patients. Around her, a mixed team of human and alien medical staff worked together in perfect coordination. Dr. Zenth used his micromachines to repair internal damage, while simultaneously monitoring patients through direct tactile assessment. Dr. Allen had learned to enhance her sonic healing by feeling for patient responses through her hands. The first patient arrived on a stretcher. It was a Kithara engineer with severe burns from an explosion. Kate and Dr. Zenth worked together, with Kate using her hands to assess the injury, while Dr. Zenth programmed his micromachines based on what she felt. The burned tissue is deeper than it looks, Kate reported, her fingers gently probing the edges of the wound. There's damage to the internal biomechanical systems about 2 centimeters down. Dr. Zenth's compound eyes reflected gratitude. I could not have detected that with my scanners alone. The combination of your tactile assessment and my micromachines allows for much more precise treatment. As they worked, Kate reflected on how much had changed since the day she saved Ambassador Theises. The incident had become legendary throughout the medical community. Videos of the procedure were studied in medical schools on dozens of worlds. Kate had been invited to speak at conferences, write papers, and train doctors in what was now called integrated contact medicine. But the real change was deeper than fame or recognition. The alien medical community had realized that their reliance on technology had made them forget some fundamental truths about healing. They had gained incredible precision and power, but they had lost the intuitive connection between doctor and patient that came from direct touch. Jake entered the medical bay carrying a supply crate. He had become a regular fixture at Harmony Point, helping to train other humans in emergency xenobiology support. His practical military medical experience had proven invaluable in developing new techniques. "How is the new class of students coming along?" Kate asked as she finished. "Treating the Kythera engineer." "Better than expected," Jake replied. "We've got 12 humans and 28 aliens learning integrated techniques. The aliens are especially eager to develop their tactile assessment skills." Kate smiled as she watched the mixed groups of students working together across the medical bay. Young Veil 3 doctors practiced taking pulses and checking temperatures. Kythera students learned to feel for internal injuries before deploying their micro-machines. Zephyrian healers discovered how to enhance their sonic healing through direct contact with patients. Dr. Allen approached with a datapad full of reports. "Dr. Morrison, I have the latest statistics from medical facilities that have adopted integrated contact medicine. Patient survival rates have improved by an average of 37% across all species." "That's incredible," Kate said, reviewing the numbers. "What's driving the improvement?" "Early detection of complications through tactile assessment," Dr. Allen explained. "Equipment can measure many things, but it cannot feel the subtle changes that indicate a patient is about to take a turn for the worse." Ambassador Thizes entered the medical bay, her crystal form radiating health and vitality. She had made a complete recovery and had become one of the strongest advocates for the new medical techniques. As a diplomat, she had used her influence to encourage medical facilities throughout the galaxy to adopt integrated contact medicine. "Dr. Morrison," Ambassador Thizes said, "I bring news from the Galactic Medical Council. They have approved the establishment of integrated medicine centers on 50 more stations and planets." Kate felt a surge of pride and satisfaction. That means thousands more doctors will learn these techniques. Millions more patients will receive better care, Ambassador Thizes corrected. Your decision to risk everything for one dying patient has improved medical treatment for countless beings throughout the galaxy. Dr. Viss joined the conversation, her crystal eyes bright with excitement. The Council has also approved funding for a comprehensive study of human emergency medicine techniques. They want to understand what other Deathworlder adaptations might benefit galactic medicine. Kate laughed. "I'm not sure we're ready for them to learn about battlefield surgery or wilderness medicine." "Actually," Captain Jake said with a grin, "I've been getting requests from military medical units on 12 different worlds. Apparently, the ability to treat injuries without relying on equipment is very appealing to combat medics." As the day continued, Kate watched her students practicing the techniques she had developed. A young human doctor was teaching a Val 3 how to check for internal bleeding through abdominal palpation. A Kythera instructor was showing human students how to coordinate tactile assessment with micro-machine deployment. The integration was happening naturally, without force or conflict. Each species brought their strengths to the collaboration, creating medical techniques that were more effective than any single approach alone. Late in the evening, after the last patients had been treated and the students had gone to their quarters, Kate found herself alone in the medical bay with Ambassador Thizes. The Veil 3 diplomat often stayed late, studying human medical texts and practicing tactile techniques on training models. "Dr. Morrison," Ambassador Thizes said, "I have been thinking about the day you saved my life. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had listened to our warnings and not attempted the procedure?" Kate considered the question. Sometimes. But I've learned that in medicine, you can't always play it safe. Sometimes the most dangerous thing is doing nothing. Wise words. But I think there was something more than medical judgment in your decision. You risked your life for someone you barely knew, from a species you had never treated before. That's what doctors do, Kate said simply. We help whoever needs help. Ambassador Theises moved closer, her crystal form glowing softly in the dim emergency lighting. That attitude is not common in the galaxy. Most species help their own kind first, allies second, and strangers last. But humans seem to have a different approach. Kate thought about all the human medical volunteers who had joined the program. Over the past months, young doctors and nurses who had given up comfortable positions on Earth to work in dangerous frontier conditions, treating aliens they had never seen before. They all shared the same basic drive, to heal anyone who needed. Healing. Maybe it comes from being a young species, Kate suggested. We haven't had time to develop the prejudices that older civilizations have. Or perhaps, Ambassador Theises said, it comes from being Deathworlders. When survival depends on cooperation, you learn to help anyone who might help you in return. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Kate checked the communication panel and saw that it was from Earth Medical Command. She opened the message and read it with growing excitement. Good news? Ambassador Theises asked. The best, Kate replied. Earth is sending a full medical exchange team to establish permanent integrated medicine programs on 20 different worlds. They're also setting up a new medical school specifically for xenobiology. And who will head this new school? Kate smiled. They've asked me to consider the position. Director of Interspecies Emergency Medicine. Ambassador Theises' crystal form brightened with joy. You will accept, of course. Of course. But only if they agree to one condition. Which is? Kate gestured around the medical bay, at the equipment that combined the best of human and alien technology, at the training materials written in multiple languages, at the photographs of successful procedures that had seemed impossible just months before, that every student, human or alien, learns that the most sophisticated medical instrument ever developed is still a trained pair of hands and the will to use them to help others. Ambassador Theises made the crystal chime sound that indicated deep agreement. That condition will be easy to accept. After all, it has already been proven by the Deathworlder doctor, who taught an entire galaxy that sometimes the simplest solutions are the most powerful. Kate looked out the viewport at the stars, thinking about all the worlds where doctors were learning to combine advanced technology with ancient healing wisdom. Somewhere out there, alien doctors were discovering that their hands could do things their machines could not. Human medics were learning to enhance their intuitive skills with tools that seemed like magic. And patients throughout the galaxy were receiving better care because one human doctor had been willing to risk everything to save one dying alien. With nothing but her bare hands and the determination to never give up, the future of medicine was going to be very interesting indeed.